Each Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your hosts, Keith Barney.
Out of practice.
And Michael Joseph Indeglio.
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
2001 was supposed to be better than 2000. How's it going so far?
Lies. Lies. Lies.
Out of practice.
And welcome to the Out of Practice Podcast, a weekly podcast in which Mike and I discuss David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week we are all the way up to Season 5, Episode 16, entitled Awakenings.
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
That is not at all where we are or what the name of the show is.
Oh, yeah. No, I might have I might have needed to awaken just a hair before I started this. Let's try this again. This week we're up to Season 5, Episode 16, Gideon's Crossing. Yeah, that's what I meant the whole time.
I guess
now
now is not a good time
everything.
to tell you that you also listed Jimmy Berluti or Michael Badalucco as the best guest actor this week on Instagram.
Okay, look, it has been a very long week.
It has.
All of us. Oh my god! Now I have to go back. I have to double check like the dates on everything I put in here. Like it's all gone to hell. I clearly was asleep.
Well, the good news is that no one comes to this podcast for any sort of accuracy. So that is the good news.
Yes, can you imagine? Like, I don't know, Phoenix. Are you the fact checker?
Oh well, God, I wouldn't even wish that upon our worst enemy.
No, truly. All right, Gideon's crossover. Okay, no, I got everything else right. Okay, it's gonna be fine. Everybody, it's gonna be fine. Everyone, take a deep breath.
It's a time for healing and unity, Keith.
Yeah, so obviously we are recording this on January 11th, 2021. And so, I'm a little unclear how we're going to refer to this in, moving forward. Is this going to be January 6th, like 9/11? Or is it going to be something else? I don't think we've figured out what this is going to go by yet. But obviously, on January 6th was the attack on the Capitol. And the Trump incited mob that came in and tried to overthrow the government, essentially. And so that was it's been a scary week. It's been
I'll frame it this way. That I won't even have to put up a politics spoiler warning in the front of the episode so people can skip it. I think Keith and I's leanings have already been well documented. I'll say this though. I'll try to tie it to what we're doing on this podcast a little bit. As trite as that is, I will try to do so slightly. Because here's the feeling I had on Wednesday when I watched this event unfold in real time, as I'm sure many of our listeners did as well. We watch a television show that is based on the judicial system, and we explore all of the nooks and crannies, and though dramatized, still real life consequences of conflicts of interest, of stretching the line of truth and of process to the furthest extent possible in order to get the outcome that you want. Right? Would you agree that that's a decent broad brush outline?
Yeah.
And Keith and I have also personally on the podcast explored, especially over this past year, our personal privilege and we can only watch what's been unfolding in our country, the protests, the mounting divisiveness in our politics from our seat of privilege. And I'd like to think that we are at least cultured and contrite enough, empathetic enough human beings that we recognize that privilege.
Well, we're trying to, at least.
We
are continuing to explore the depths of it and discovering new levels frequently.
Never before, though, personally, have I viscerally felt that privilege, and also at the same time felt the sheer fragility of our entire country, the entire system of government that has been existing for only 200 years. You just make assumptions. My daily life is full of assumptions. Oh, that this won't play out a certain way. Up until the point where these people were storming the Capitol. Look, I watched the president's speech. I thought it was pathetic. I thought it was insightful. Not insightful, but inciting.
I don't think anybody thought that was what you meant.
I don't want to even be. And
that is an adjective never once used to describe one of his speeches, even by his supporters.
But even as it's happening, we've become desensitized to it. It's just Trump doing Trump. It's just the same BS. Yeah. And then as they walked down to the Capitol and it seemed to get a little out of hand, I thought, this is just demonstrative. This is just, surely there will be tons of protection and security and it was not. So I'm not going to speculate on, was it an inside job? I'm not even going to comment on the sheer demonstrable differences between the security of this type of event versus the protests we've seen this past year. I'm not even going to wade into those waters. To keep it focused on my feelings at the time, as I saw these people inside the Capitol and realized, even in real time, what could have happened, right? The repercussions.
What they tried to do.
And then not but hours later, when they curtailed some of but they still were voting effectively to overturn the votes of millions of people in those states.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It realized to me just how fragile truth and the assumption that our representatives are looking out for our best interests in any way, shape, or form is. Yeah. And it's the first time it really became clear to me that a lot of the shit we're taught in school about how this is the best system in the world and how it's infallible and all that crap is just simply not really true. And it's almost sad to me that I'm 40 years old and I was that naive to have that sort of faith and blind trust in this sort of body of government. And the truth is that a lot of our daily lives are built on a lot of assumptions that just, especially if you are a minority in this country, just not true.
Yeah.
That's my piece.
No, I think that's well put. And I share all of your feelings, and it makes me. I think the thought that you're having that I frequently have myself is that democracy is like currency. It works and it means something because we all collectively decide that it does. Like currency, we decide that a piece of paper, this piece of paper is worth $10. This piece of paper is worth $100. There's no, it's all completely, we just choose to believe that it means something, and it's based on gold. Well, we choose to believe that gold means something. It's a relatively worthless metal. And so democracy is the same way. It only works if we're all choosing to believe in it and all choosing to follow it. And, it's certainly a scary time. And, in some ways, this is the inevitable outcome. I mean, I don't know if Jen might have sent it to us, but like somebody posting on Twitter, well, that escalated steadily for 4 years. I mean, that was like, that's exactly it's exactly what happened. This is the inevitable result, and hopefully, this is where it ends. Because the first 10 years of the playbook that gets us to a very dark place, we are going page by page all the way through exactly to script. And this is just chapter 6. And I hope that we are able to pull it back together a little bit and,
and I think,
and call it out for what it is. I mean, it was an insurrection. Those people were not protesters. They were not looters. They were not a mob. They were traitors. I don't consider it any different than if they'd attacked our troops on the battlefield. Like, you attack our capital, you try to kill our representatives, you're traitors. You are traitors to this country. That is treason.
I have been, and I'm not putting the FBI on blast. They're very protective of investigations they're doing and things like that. I've been heartened slightly. My fellow citizens, I follow a few Twitter accounts that have been in full "don't fuck with cats" investigative mode, just tracking down these people, and it's cancel culture, right? This is to the max. But if we can turn that exact,
though,
it's not. But what I'm saying is, if we can turn that fervor towards this type of righteous pursuit, in our opinions, have at it. And it's been heartened to see how that those people have coalesced in order to do this. And look, we're not out of the woods, right? I think that is clear. And if we remove all emotion from this, which is tough to do, it will be interesting intellectually and procedurally to see how we define accountability as a country. Because let's see how this all plays out. I mean, it can shake out so many different ways. I mean, at this point, he could pardon all of these people. He could, a lot of procedural, there are checks and balances, and there are crazy things written into this document that are going to be explored. And it's going to be interesting to follow, if not harrowing.
Yeah, no, it really, is
someone breaking into your house right now?
You can tell I'm looking up to the basement window. I think we just got a FedEx delivery, but I haven't replaced the storm window that goes, because the basement windows are sunk down and they've got the plastic thing, and I bought them, but I haven't replaced them, so it's not transparent. So somebody clearly just went up to our door and then left pretty quickly. So they couldn't have stolen much.
That's a great segue. Let's escape out of this political quagmire I've created and ask Keith.
We could go on forever.
Tell us about the developments over the past week of your basement studio home.
Yes. Well, I tell you, like, you have been. We were talking before. Like, you have been like just living in this trauma that our country is facing, and like just getting into it. And I have been taking all of my anxiety and all of my feelings into obsessively working on the basement. So since we last spoke a week ago, I have repainted the entire basement. I got rid of all the red rum on both on the walls behind here and up on the ceiling, and primed and repainted the whole thing, which took forever because with all the ducks and all this gold trim, which I saved, I made the biggest masking tape bolus you have ever seen. and I have investigated. I have carpeting ready to go down.
Okay.
As soon as we're done, I'm going to put it down, and they're all carpet squares. So,
interesting.
Like this, and so you stick them down on the floor. So I will be doing a review of Florigami carpet squares next week. Stay tuned.
I've used the interlocking kitchen tile before, so I've never done the carpeting though. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they say it's good. It's pretty easy. You just stick it down, and what's good about it is that if you fuck up one or two, you can pull it off and replace them.
Yeah,
just square at a time.
In my apartment, as most apartments, we had hardwood flooring, and no matter what strategy I used to sort of sound baffle any room, it just was an exercise in futility. I found that having carpeting it eliminates the need for any of that.
Oh, I always have carpeting in my studio, so I'm super psyched. And it's a concrete. I mean, it's a really nice cement floor here, but it's a cement floor. It's just hard on your feet and it's loud. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, no, my first week of homeownership, I have Gone to the paint store. I think I went 5 times in 3 days. Because I was a little indecisive on the color for the background here, so I tried 4 different colors before.
Now, does
I
your wife
arrived
get any input on this, or
not in the basement? She wants nothing to do with the basement.
Oh, okay.
It's not that I have like planted my flag and said this is mine. You can't, no girls allowed. She's like, I don't know why you want to be down there. So it's
so she's gonna have a different studio space. You don't have to share it.
No, that's the whole idea. So
how amazing is that?
Yeah, no. So her studio is on the 2nd floor, and she sort of has like 2 of them. She took 2 of her. The primary will have a relaxation studio, and then she has an office. So so we'll be set up, and we've been doing a lot of sound testing throughout the house to figure out where in the house can we both work at the same time without interfering.
So really what I'm hearing is that within, let's say, 4 months, you're going to be 600 pounds and pale and just on 4chan all the time?
Minus the 4chan, I'm pretty much there. Mission accomplished. Let me tell you.
Hey, this just in, we're going to do a podcast starting now.
Oh, are we doing a podcast? Or I thought we were just shooting the shit. Oh, what do you know? All right, let us move forward and talk about the real world of our fake world and begin with our segment.
Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas.
I was going to do it was quiet in Lake Wobegon joke, but I do my guess. It was quiet in Lake Wobegon, and Pastor Inkfest had just brought
He's been
by
canceled.
a buckleberry pie.
Come on, keep up.
And I had a nice slice of pie, then grabbed a woman against her will. It was a beautiful day. Anyway, so we heard from a new friend, Mike Harlow, who just said, "Holy shit, I can't believe this is a real podcast. My favorite show of all time. I thought nobody remembered it. Cannot wait to go listen." Well, we can't wait to have you listening to the show. And when you catch up to this episode in 5 years, I hope the flying cars work. And
by that point, you'll have realized it's not a real podcast at all.
No.
And also,
that's true. He said real podcast. Oh, God.
Also, I looked into Mike just to respond to his YouTube comment, and he's got like 7,000 YouTube subscribers. He does some shows himself. So do not judge us based off your success, Mr. Harlow, because it ain't worth it.
What you're experiencing as a successful whatever it is that you do is not what we're experiencing necessarily.
We're just sad, desperate people who need to watch TV.
Exactly. Speaking of TV, I have the very, very fast mention of our loudest segment. So very quickly, was watching the movie Ad Astra.
No, I have not watched that one.
With Gillian, with Brad Pitt, and who is there as a General so-and-so? It's Lisa Gay Hamilton.
Hey!
Who has been doing a lot of film work. I see her all the time lately. So that was a very welcome sight.
Since we're doing it, let me just jump in there real quick.
Curtains.
I watched 2 documentaries that I want to mention. One is called An Honest Liar. I think it's from 2017. It's about the amazing Randy and his sort of lifelong pursuit of debunking people that claim to have supernatural powers.
Right.
I find the documentary fairly, it's a little misleading because it turns out to be less about the actual work that he's been doing, and becomes more about him, and then about his personal life. And so it sort of strays from what I was hoping it was. However, it had me go into a deep dive on YouTube about watching his specials over the years. I mean, he's been doing this for years and years and years. And some of the stunts he's pulled and ways he's gone about debunking these people. And it's fascinating. So that's one. 2, a little more topical to what we've been discussing, a documentary released 2020 called Feels Good Man, and it is about a cartoonist who started a cartoon called The Boys Club, which featured a frog called Pepe the Frog, and about how that character had been co-opted and degraded into a white nationalist symbol and super meme, and it feels like it has to be a fake thing, but it is real and it is harrowing, and it ends fairly. He sort of gets some control over it, so that's nice. Spoiler warning, but it is absolutely fascinating and worth a watch. And finally, I'll mention, because it's much more apropos to what we do here, Jen and I finally got around to watching the HBO Max special season 1 of Perry Mason, which is a sort of reboot, reimagining of the old Perry Mason Attorney at Law TV show. And this is beautifully shot, beautiful cinematography, excellent casting and acting. It suffers, I hate to do this, but the first 2 episodes, it's a little bit, none of the characters are instantly, John Lithgow's in it, are instantly like sympathetic characters, but the central mystery is really interesting, and we are now up to the final 2 episodes, where we're on the penultimate episode, and we're really hook, line, and sinker. So I give it a recommend, if not for just the sort of visual style and the writing and the acting. So
cool.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
More TV.
Well, that was more TV. Oh, and before I do it, let me. Before I finish the filing and subpoenas, even though we already moved on, let's tell you how you can file or subpoena. You can reach us on Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice Podcast. You can email us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. You can check out our blog, outofpracticepodcast.blogspot.com. And while you're there, while you're doing it, do us a huge favor. Join the jury. Leave us a rating on review on Apple Podcasts or any other service. It really helps us find more new friends, like our new friend Mike Harlow, who is more successful than we are. Thank you very much. Okay. That means it is time to hop back into the time machine. And we are going back to March 11th, the year 2001. And that makes us ask the question, what was going on
This day in the basement.
March. Had no idea, could not really recall what was happening around this time specifically, but then I decided yesterday, the day before, to take a drive. Oh boy, that's not right. That's not what I want.
Well, I mean, we were technically in the world.
You're right. That's true. So I drove down to the Micro Center, where back in the day, I'll never forget, because my dad had given me an American Express card for emergencies only, Keith. And
I bet that went well.
And for like a beautiful 3-month period, Micro Center had a no questions asked return policy. So I would love to go and buy software, install it on my computer, and then just return it.
Yes, this was the slightly questionable ethics era of Mike and Daglio's life.
Until my dad was like, "What is this like $400 balance?" I was like, "No, it's not a balance, Dad. It's all been returned." He's like, "What the hell?" And that was the end of that American Express card. But anyway, I recalled the other day, I was like, oh shit, we have a Micro Center. I live not far from there anymore. So I decided to go over. So I was driving over, and I drove through some of my old stomping grounds where I used to take guitar lessons. And I drove by I won't call it out, but I drove by this bread company. And I remembered, Keith, and I think I've told you this before, I might have talked it on the pod, that this was a period of my time, March 2001, I was doing 3 things. I was getting up in the morning at butt o'clock in the morning to help my brother take my dad to dialysis. And then I would go work a early AM shift at the bread company making cinnamon bread. with a colleague that we never spoke. We just sat there in the quiet and made bread before any of the customers were open. Would come. And then I would go home and get a little bit of sleep. And then I would go and coach crew, Upper Marine rowing team.
Right.
And then
right.
I would drive out to the Dutch Country Players in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and rehearse the show Tribute, which I talked about. And I started to try to dig up any pictures or a program, any information on the internet that might have shown that this show existed, and literally nothing. I tried to track down the woman who befriended me and helped me through a tough time, Summer Hayes, and can't find her. Can't remember the names of the director or anything. It's all poof. It's all gone. But I did drive. The bread company is still open and still running, and so it was nice to have that piece of my life. That was a really therapeutic, because this gentleman who was the other guy who worked the early shift with me, we like I said, we just kind of did our thing. We just worked the bread and didn't really chat much or listen to music. It was just quiet, and we made bread, and it was kind of awesome. That's my story.
Yeah, that's actually a great story. I've always loved both sort of simple, repetitive tasks, like I'm sure making the bread was, and the
smell.
ability of a coworker not to talk the whole time.
Yeah.
And there's at the Index, where I've worked for the last 11 years, until we went remote, which obviously we are now, and I work here. This is my office now. But I used to sit next to him for 8 hours a day, and we would, the first thing in the morning was like, "Hey, what's up?" At the end of the night, be like, "Hey, have a good one." And many days that was all we communicated, and it wasn't weird. We were both perfectly happy with it. We talked when it was necessary, but Jillian's like, what's it? You just sit there and just like work? And I'm like, yeah, put on my headphones, put on some Netflix. And it's, I love having coworkers like that.
It's easier as you get older. Like when you're younger and you have more people you want to impress, or you feel like you have to assert yourself, or I don't even know how to describe it, but you feel like it's dead silence becomes uncomfortable. And the more you can kind of harness that and become comfortable with it, I think it serves you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So what I was doing, and I'm going to do a little bit of a tease for a later one. I was beginning to prepare for my junior recital at Eastman, which was coming up on April 14th. And it was a really... the recitals there were very intense. It was like a very serious thing, and it was a solo recital, so it was just me for like almost an hour of singing and memorization and 1,000 different things. So they're always super scary. This one was like the small one. The senior recital was the biggie, and we'll get to that next year. But I was about to do that, and I think you can find, I'm going to show you when we get there, the poster I designed for this, which became kind of famous at Eastman, and you might see why maybe I didn't fit in quite with the other kids. I was a little different in my style, a little more theatrical. So we will get that. I found it. We will post it when we get closer to it.
Oh, goody!
All right. It is time for...
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
We, of course, are talking about March 11th, 2001. And we were listening to, for the third week, Stutter by Joe, featuring Mystical.
What is the hook to this song? Do you know this song either?
No. We heard it a couple weeks ago. Neither one of us had ever heard it before. This is some strange thing. This is called Team Star Kid. It's like trying to be like a boy band sort of a deal. I don't know. Anyway, so that was our number one hit, the Burlington Free Press. We're talking about the president hopeful on tax cuts. And this, of course, is the very beginning of the George W. Bush administration. And they did push through tax cuts, and who are all the worse off for it? The top movie was The Mexican, starring Julia Roberts and Brad Pitt in a movie I barely remember. All right. Thank you so much, Star Kid. It is now time for...
It's time for Sportsball.
The now defunct Atlanta Thrashers beat the Bruins in a 7-5 shootout at the Fleet Center. Brian Rolston scored 2 for Boston, Jason Allison had 4 points, and Billy Garrett had a goal in a fight. Patrick Stefan had 2 goals for Atlanta. The empty net in Boston was credited for a goal against in the official score sheet. The Flyers lost a 3-2 game to the Devils. Mark Recchi scored his 23rd for Philly, but not John...
But John Madden, not that John Madden, posted the game winner for Jersey with 43 seconds remaining. There were 8 glorious fighting majors in the game, and I wrote too much copy, but I was covering while you ate.
Blueberries.
Ooh, so healthy. Goodness gracious.
If she had brought me crinkly fries and a Slurpee, I'd eaten that too.
Oh, I would have. I'll just pretty much eat like a tennis ball at this point. All right. Do we have any weather this week?
No.
Okay. No weather. All right.
I'm a human being.
God damn it.
My life has value, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
It's time to talk about the damn episode.
This episode, entitled Gideon's Crossing, apparently, was written by there's a whole team here. So here we go. It has a teleplay by David E. Kelly, Jonathan Shapiro, who last wrote on We Hold These Truths, Peter Blake, who last wrote on The Deal, Lynn E. Litt, who last wrote on The Thin Line, and a story by that whole team, plus Wendy West, who was a staff writer on Gideon's Crossing. And it was directed by one of our favorite directors, Michael Schultz. However, this is the last episode of the practice that he will do. So this is Michael Schultz's finale, which leaves us with only one important thing.
What is that supposed to mean?
What's your problem?
Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
Ew.
What?
What?
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
Oh, timer's on.
You have 30 seconds to say what's going to happen.
Well, listen, we left Lucy's client, well, I guess not a client, Lucy's ward at in Lurch last week. If I'm not mistaken, she had been raped, and there was a witness to the rape, but that witness was like a drunk, and Helen Gamble wants to call the young girl who was the victim to the stand. This is what I recall. Somehow we've got to work Gideon's Crossing in, which is like a hospital show, right?
Yes.
So the episode is going to be about Gideon is the raped girl, the victim's doctor, and he's going to spend the whole episode trying to convince him that she's not prepared to testify. But Lucy Hatcher is going to see it through and help her testify. And my guess is that it's going to be Lucy's episode. Lucy will be the feature of the episode. Marla Sokolov will win Best Actor of the OOPSY. Lucy Hatcher will win Best Lawyer somehow. It's going to be an all Lucy all the time episode. That's my prediction.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know if that's a big swing, but it's the first time. It's an unprecedented swing. You have never predicted the OOPSY winners before. So that's
especially
something.
When a non-lawyer, I'm going to predict a non-lawyer is going to somehow win Best Lawyer.
Okay.
Or Most Valuable Lawyer, excuse me.
Well, yeah, that's right. Get our awards right. These are real things, Mike.
You're right.
Okay, folks. Well, it is time for you to hop over to your podcasting service of choice and listen to us listen to the episode. Do us a favor and watch the episode on Hulu or a licensed streaming service so we don't get sued. See you soon.
And we are back, baby. All of our Gideon puns intact.
Oh my goodness. If you missed all of those terrible, terrible puns that we forced through your ears in stereo. But happily, if you're just on the YouTubes, you missed it. But what you're not going to miss is everybody's favorite segment, especially mine.
Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show.
Everybody do the choreography at home.
Oh, Lucy's pissed because Helen needs Rape Girl to testify, but at the last minute she decides she's not going to testify. She just calls her up and then she pulls her back, and that actually ends up to the rapist getting identified without being identified, and Helen wins the case. Also, Ellenor goes to the hospital, but guess what? She's all right. She's not sick. Oh, but until the end of the episode, then she is sick, so she's going back to Gideon, baby. And Bobby is going to gets this guy, and he's like, he might have raped his stepdaughter, but he didn't kill her, that's for sure. But is it for sure? We'll find out next week.
I love it. I love how it always just starts good and then it spirals out at the end and just like a big faceplant. It's my favorite segment. Okay, it is time for us to do our favorite thing, and that is a special award show at the end of every episode entitled
Ladies and gentlemen, the Out of Practice podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelly Productions, proudly present
Oopsie.
The Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the Oopsies?
Well, I'll tell you, Jackie, they're a fake awards show we do at the end of every episode that always begins with
Most valuable.
That's right.
Okay.
It doesn't begin with
Yes,
spare
it-
tires, which you could be confused to thinking because that's what I had on the screen.
It surely does not. And when the video didn't roll, and you saw what my face looks like when I'm not on camera,
Wait, the video didn't roll?
it started and then it stopped, and then I saw myself and I was not expecting to see myself, and that's never a good thing.
Oh, well, I don't know. Whatever Keith experienced, you will too, dear listener, because
There
I've
it is,
got no
folks.
time.
No time.
So I can tell you this with absolute certainty. Lucy is not the MVL.
No, that was your prediction, though.
It surely was.
Yeah.
So I think we can all attest that Gambit or Gamble or not, Helen nonetheless gets a rapist off the street, protects a little girl from being cross-examined about said rape, and in some way, shape, or form, maybe, potentially, incentivizes the moral questioning of an alcoholic to perhaps rethink and get a little bit of help. Maybe. That would be a bonus. But I think the big thing here is rapist off the street. So for that reason alone, and for those other reasons maybe, most valuable lawyer goes to Helen Gamble.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will place my hand on the Gideon Bible.
Wow.
And say that I
Wow, folks.
that I agree that yes, of course, Helen did excellent Helening today, and she came at it from both a good strategic place and a good moral place. I don't know still whether or not it was intentional to have her go up there but not testify. But either way, I think she handled it beautifully. So congratulations, Helen Gamble. Look at you as the MVL. Coming up next, everybody have their choreography down? Let's go.
Already famous cause you've been on TV, getting a paycheck, or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go, but you're the best guest actor. You are the
My
best
chair's rolling
guest
away.
actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
Guys, basement floors aren't always completely flat. And when you have a rolling chair and you do intensive choreography, things happen.
You know, I envisioned like a YouTube user super cutting, like hundreds and hundreds of users all doing the choreo together. And then, we would need more than like a handful of people to listen to the show, which is something we should have thought about when we picked such a niche show.
Yes, indeed. Well, we'll have to, when we do our choreo on something slightly less niche.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll be 80 at that time. But in the meantime, in the interim, you would think, one would think that in a crossover episode so crossovery that it had to be in the title.
So crossovery.
That a member of the crossover cast would probably break into the best guest actor category.
You'd think it would be given such a pivotal role and a chance to shine and a chance to like show the practice viewers why you want to just jump over and watch that show, because damn it, that guy is good. I want to watch all of his stuff.
He's not even a nominee.
No.
You would also think that maybe in the C case that I didn't expect to even see this week, one of those cast members would give such a portrayal. In fact, what's the wife's name, the potentially Black Widow-ish wife?
Isabella Hoffman.
She is a nominee, but I don't think she gives the most compelling performance. Keith, I am torn between the young actress who played the rape victim this week, who barely said anything, if saying anything,
Alexandra Kyle, or the judge who was such an asshole that he needed his own bumper, a really great Charles Napier,
a really great performance, and ultimately my winner is the defense attorney of the rapist, who I thought was really compelling. I thought he pled his case well. I thought that his performance was everything it was asked of him in a not particularly sympathetic role. I really enjoyed what he brought to the cast this week. So my oopsie goes to
David Aaron Baker. Wow.
David Aaron Baker.
I was not at a direction I was expecting.
So, okay, Keith is surprised. You're probably surprised
there
too,
it is.
Listener. Keith, who would you like to award your oopsie to?
Well, I mean, I agree with you on all the people listed, but I'm going to go in yet another direction.
Wow.
I'm going to give it to Jamie Ann Allman as the witness with an addiction, who I thought did a really tremendous job.
You know what? That's great. I love that our oopsies really shouting out. So people are going to be scrolling through their Instagram and be like, wait, what?
What?
I got hashtag?
Well, mine makes sense. Oh,
well,
right.
You're saying mine doesn't make... Oh, even better. Now my guy's going to listen to the episode and be like, oh, that one guy didn't even like me.
No, he was good. He was totally good. Don't get me wrong. David, you were great. It was not the showy role. But he served his purpose very well. Anyway, it is time to move forward to...
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show.
Don't sleep on Cameron. She's always giving you everything she's got. Bobby did some great yelling, as Bobby tends to do.
Bobby!
But I'm happy that... oh, no.
I'm not helping you with a main cast member.
Oh, no, it's happened again. Oh,
with a main cast member. It's not Dookie.
Oh, no, Mike. Oh, my God, I'm stone cold sober, too.
I refuse to help you. We are 101 episodes into this show. There's only like 7 cast members.
Damn it. Oh, my God, I can see it. Don't make me IMDb.
She was probably the most famous one at this point.
Oh, man, now I got to do it. I deserve this.
No. You can't look it up. We're going to sit here till you remember organically. No. You have to sit here and think about what you did.
It's so easy. All right. Well, since I ruined the segment, I think we both can agree Lara Flynn Boyle, this was her episode.
I'm so disappointed we couldn't sit there and literally watch you sweat for the extended time. Yes, yes, she was great. It was her episode, and I liked it for the character. I liked it for the actress. Congratulations, Lara Flynn Boyle. Next up is
the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
So the nominee, just so I have it ahead of time, his name is Tom Brady. Tom Brady wins the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady typically.
Okay, and last week the winner was, but I'm not pregnant, Tom Brady, as we can see here on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see. Now, I should also mention that, oops, not on spare tires yet. Oh, God damn it.
Mike needs another sandwich.
You know, as we mock Tom Brady every week, with pleasure, Tom Brady is doing what, generally speaking, 65-year-old men don't do, and that's winning playoff games. But he is doing that currently. But this week, oh man, this week is riddled with problems because we talked a lot about underage rape and sex this week, so I don't want to get stuck in a quagmire.
No, you for surely do not.
So I'm going to just say that this week's Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady is going to go to...
Keep thinking. Wait, what's her name again? Quick. What's her name?
You know what? There you go. Let's do it. Let's blend the two and say this week's Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady goes to Lara Flynn Brady. So enjoy that one, Keith.
I'm gonna send one episode of our podcast to Lara Flynn Boyle to see if she'll come on the show, and it's gonna be this one.
No.
Because if we ever have an opportunity to interview her, right? She'll be like, "Oh, let me go listen to an episode that I was one of the stars of. Oh, look, I won all the oopsies. I can't wait to find how much of a fan they are, how much they're clocking everything."
And the episode starts with me going, "And now, welcome to the Out of Practice podcast." Hold on, I got to pull it up on IMDb.
That's true. I didn't know the name of the episode. Well, yeah, that's it's not great. So, all right, here's one for you, and then I'll do one for myself, and then one for you. I didn't know the name of the show. I should look up what show we're gonna talk about, but I'm not. That's a better podcast. That wasn't good.
No, but
now it's your turn.
I probably should know the name of the cast members of the show, but clearly I don't, and I suck some stove. I hope that they never come on the show, and we should probably stop asking people for money.
That's probably true. We should give people money back for this episode. If you want your refund, go to outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com and put in the promo code episode 517. What is the name of this episode? And who's in the show? Okay. Wait, so the Tom Brady Award from Tom Brady goes to Lara...
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not even going to say that. I'm not going to disrespect anybody, so forget it.
It's the Lara Flynn Boyle Tom Brady wins the Tom Brady Award.
Lara Flynn Brady.
Lara Flynn Brady wins the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady. Okay, very good. I look forward to that.
Do you?
I do. I have a plan. Okay, finally, mercifully.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
All right, so Keith and I being objectively morons aside, the worst part about this episode is the crossover bit. Completely unnecessary, and at that, pretty poorly executed. Now, if we were to go to Gideon's crossing and have that portion of the show surgically removed, this is a compelling episode for me. We're exploring some interesting gray areas, not only in the A case where we're like we have done in the episode. I won't relitigate it, but we're weighing the long-term psychological effects of the victim testifying versus what happens if the person goes free.
Mm-hmm.
I found that really compelling. Also continues Helen's arc, which the redemption of Helen continues, and we dig that. In the other case, Bobby is faced with defending someone but has his own suspicions of that person potentially admitting some sort of guilt to his other lawyer. So Bobby's coming with his own prejudices, and that's really interesting too. And they're kind of like throwing some red herrings our way with the wife and the daughter and and then this lady we met, Jimmy and the other lawyer meeting the other lady meeting in the lots of cool stuff. I like a continuation in this regard because the case does seem interesting and we do have enough information to kind of ponder over. So that's really interesting too. Performances across the board, great. Victims' rights handled with care. Having Lucy there, having everyone from the father to the witness. Everybody has context. Everybody has their own backstory. A lot of great stuff happening. And then the Ellenor stuff, which is like, oh yeah, she's still pregnant, and here she's at the hospital, but she's okay, but she's not okay. It's just a little schlocky. And by a little, I'll let you expound on that. So I have to ding it for that a little bit. But ultimately, I really enjoy the episode. I can't really find a lot of fault with it. I like the resolutions of the cases. I really like the episode. I'm going to give it 8.5 stars. I know that we want to be more specific, so I'll say 8.50.
So you specified instead of 8.5, we're going to get more specific and say 8.50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to need that O for the math, Keith. You're going to need that O. You might have implied it, but not me. I'm going to explicitly state it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It wasn't 8.5 question mark. It is 8.50.
Definitively.
Oh, definitively. Okay. Woo. Yeah, I know. I agree with you. On sort of all of those points. I like the episode. I like the ethical question. And I thought I'd like the redemption of Helen. I find the case that Bobby's working on, obviously it's super soapy, and very like bold colors, but it is interesting, and I do like the sort of ethical quandary they have. Is it a client? Is it not a client? So I don't know, like it. Depending on where that goes, that could be a very soap opera story or a very interesting one. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt at this point. One layer that I did enjoy, you realize there's a shot of our screen right now, yeah?
What? No. You know what, Keith? I forgot. You're looking at something that audience isn't seeing.
I'm
showing
God.
I'm showing you the preview, which I forgot to change back.
Oh, fancy.
That's the OBS preview window. There, you should be back.
Oh, there's a preview window. Ooh. I need to see myself. If I weren't such a raging narcissist, I wouldn't be doing a podcast.
You're right.
Mike, you got to let me see. You got to let me see the money. I actually liked the wrinkle of this sort of asshole conservative judge here who was a big problem and not helping this girl at all. But in the end, he's sort of a backdoor good guy for not declaring a mistrial. Because I would imagine most people would declare a mistrial under those circumstances. Because he knew, as we've talked about before, you can't unring a bell. So you had the jury see her make the ID, and it was very obvious this guy 100% did it. And while he yelled at Helen and publicly humiliated her and told the jury to ignore it, obviously he knows that they can't. And so he sort of made justice happen by not declaring a mistrial there. So I thought that was an interesting wrinkle. As far as the crossover part, yeah, that was a bad crossover. That was entirely pointless. And you didn't show us any of the world of Gideon's Crossing, and you brought in Andre Braugher. incredible award-winning actor and gave him nothing to do on The Practice, which has the bigger audience. If the goal is to get is to get people to watch Gideon's Crossing, you want to show some of it. You want to give the audience something to look forward to. And the only thing the Practice audience cares about is what's happening to Ellenor, but we've given them nothing, which makes me wonder, I have a
Conspiracy theory.
And I wonder if this crossover was forced on David E. Kelly.
Like retroactively?
I wonder if it was like, all right, we'll give you a crossover with Boston Public if you do a crossover with another show that we are trying to help here, because the previous two crossovers have been in the David E. Kelly verse.
Wait, Gideon's Crossing is not?
No. Gideon's Crossing has no affiliation with David E. Kelly.
I see.
So,
what did we say earlier this episode about assumptions?
Yeah,
I just assumed it was.
Well, I did too, until I looked it up. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not. It's just another show on ABC.
Okay.
And so I wonder if David E. Kelly did the subtle fuck you and just sort of biffed that part of the crossover.
Put him in two scenes and
that's
just
not
named
what
the
he
show
wanted.
Yeah.
And just like put him in two scenes that meant nothing and that were inconsequential, and you gave Andre Brower nothing to do. So it didn't feel like David E. Kelly had a rooting interest in this crossover. It's almost as if he resented this crossover happening. So anyway, that is my conspiracy theory. But I did like the episode. So you give it an 8.50.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you. So I'm going to give it an 8.501.
Wow, we're going to the 100th or the 1,000th? Wow. Okay. You're the one who has to do the math, man. So that's on you. Enjoy it.
Of course, that's true. Well, and then round into the 100th point, it is 8.5.
Yeah, there you go. Before we close it out, I'll say that could you do me a favor and post and remind me the actor who also exists in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is the Easter egg, clearly.
Oh, Andre Brower.
Yes, correct. Yes. Gideon.
Yes.
All makes sense now. And there you go. That's the Easter egg reveal.
Easter egg reveal.
And I guess, Keith, that means you start talking.
That means... All right. I thought you had something to say.
Nope.
All right. Boy, you've listened to a pretty goofy episode of the Out of Practice Podcast. If you would like to participate with us, you can reach us at Out of Practice Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. You can also email us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com or check out our blog at outofpracticepodcast.blogspot.com. You can do us a huge service and join the jury and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other service of your choice. This episode of the Out of Practice Podcast is brought to you by generous donations from Leanne Wrights, Cloud Lover 69, Jorge Navoa, and Jennifer Massanova.
You know, if you'd like to join them, you can do that. You can do that by giving us money using the show notes. One-time donation, monthly contribution, they do help. They help us pay for our Hulu subscription, really at its most basic form. Additionally, you could tell some friends, or you know what, just leave us a review so that if people are trying to find that hot The Practice content, they find their way to us. In all seriousness, our country depends on people like you being compassionate, and we urge you to do so. Laser sounds, bombs bursting in air with laser sounds.
Lasers. Really stuck the landing there, didn't we?
Holy shit, that's bad. That's bad even for me. Bombs bursting in air with lasers.
I'm going to advocate for compassion. Bombs bursting in air, lasers.
I'm going to call for national unity, but I really need to impress upon you this stupid, silly pun I try to end the episode with, which I've never successfully done.
I can see the wheels turning. How are you going to go from compassion? How are you going to get from that to laser?
We just lambasted them for trying to shoehorn in the crossover's name into the title, and yet I still got to get laser sounds in, man.
And I can see, as you panicked, you saw the